Purpose of this project: to take time in my day that I think I'm not using with purpose, and to structure that time in order to ensure that I'm using it with purpose. I face an issue a lot of people face. I'm bored and I don't feel like I'm doing anything super meaningful with my life. After reading that line, I ask myself, did I make this project purely to entertain myself? In a part I did, and that's in a large part, but not entirely. Entertaining myself is an important step along the way to more important goals. It's my goal in this video to lay out what I mean when I say that. I have goals I'd like to achieve in life. I assume many of us do. I have aspirations and I have ambitions. However, I've got a couple mental roadblocks in my way, and on the bold assumption that you're not living your absolute perfect ideal life, I imagine you have a couple of those as well. There are a lot of subdivisions of how we categorize these roadblocks, but I imagine a lot of them fall under the category of I can't find the motivation. For whatever reason, whether that be depression or natural inclination or trauma or fear, all of these things lead to the end result of I can't gather the motivation / courage / energy within myself to get up and do the things I know need to be done in order to achieve my goals. In order to understand this problem, we need to understand boredom and motivation are two heads of the same coin. To say I'm not motivated to do this is the same as saying that's too boring for me to do. In both statements, we're declaring we cannot find sufficient meaning in the activity for it to be worth the mental and physical resources required to do it. So, in order for me to find the motivation to become the person I want to be and achieve the objectives I want to achieve, I need to do something so that hard work isn't boring to me. I need to find meaning in it. However, this is where I hit a first roadblock. I'm a pseudo-zoomer. Not a full zoomer, I was born in 1994. But my generation's solution to boredom wasn't to find something meaningful or productive to do. That's actually very generalistic. What I should say is that my own solution to boredom wasn't to find something meaningful or productive to do. It might be something which was common in my generation, but I can only talk about my own experience. My solution to boredom was to find a TV show with flashier lights than the TV show I was currently watching, or a video game with more intense action than the one I was currently playing, or pornography with more depraved content than the one I was currently watching. To clarify, this video is not an anti-TV or anti-video game or anti-pornography essay. All of those things are good and great in their proper place. I just used all of them way beyond the point where it was healthy for me to use them. Because of this, as of 2021, my mental systems are fried. I'm stuck in an awkward situation where actually productive activities like exercise, writing, working a job, and learning an instrument have to compete for my attention with stuff like Cyberpunk 2077, YouTube, social media, League of Legends, and all sorts of other types of media, with all of humanity's best psychologists working around the clock to figure out how to best find my tired and weary dopamine injectors and zap them as hard and as thoroughly as they can. After a while, this leaves everything that isn't those things looking grey, bleak, and most of all, meaningless in comparison to sitting down and grinding the ladder in League of Legends or StarCraft 2. As I said before, boredom and motivation are two faces of the same coin, and if motivation is created through meaningfulness, then the source of my boredom is a lack of meaningfulness in a lot of the things I do throughout my day. I spend a lot of time doing the things provided to me by our time's great minds. Things they designed and gifted to me to help me pass the time without being bored. And whilst most of these things I can make an argument for adding to myself in some way, for example, playing video games practices my critical thinking, and watching educational YouTube videos expands my knowledge, but since I'm doing these things explicitly to pass time, and because the great minds of our time seem only concerned with making us feel meaning in the moment and not on the long term, which is to keep our attention longer, once my attention is gone from wherever I was looking at, I'm hit with a feeling of how meaningless that portion of my time spent really was. Why do I feel like this? Why does the meaning I experience in watching a funny YouTube video created for me by my social media algorithms not last like the meaningfulness I experience from spending time with my friends, getting a promotion at work, winning a competition in something I practiced for, or creating something beautiful other people can appreciate? The answer to that question is that whilst those things feel meaningful, they are not tracking the things which the human mind evolved the capacity to experience meaningfulness in order to track. We experience meaningfulness as a reward system, for engaging in behaviours that our evolutionary past led towards our ancestors becoming successful and outcompeting other species or tribes of humanity. When we experience meaningfulness, we're engaging in behaviour patterns that history has proven to lead towards good evolutionary results. These are behaviour patterns like gathering resources, forming strong bonds with tribe members, having sex, and climbing to the top of social hierarchies. What you'll generally find is that a lot of these modern day trappings and entertainments are structured in a way that your mind is being tricked into thinking that you're engaging in one of these behaviours, or even genuinely is engaging you in them in some small way. But afterwards, you'll find that you do not have more resources, you have not created or bettered a bond with someone close to you, you haven't actually had sex, and no one cares that you're Diamond in StarCraft 2. So, in order to make things which actually add to us in our lives compete with the things that feel engaging to us in the short term, we're going to have to borrow some of the techniques from these top minds working for media companies. Let's start from the beginning. In order to feel meaning, you must first have structure. The sensation of meaningfulness is knowing where you are, knowing where you want to be, and being able to observe positive movement between those two states of being. This is the reason every game these days has to have a leveling system in it, or every game has to have the infamous RPG elements added to it. They all have to have an XP bar on your screen that you can see at all times, or at least very frequently, that plays a sound and animation whenever it moves to bring your attention to it. And every 5 minutes you need to hear a fanfare telling you that you've just leveled up. The point of this is, I could be moving towards where I want to be as fast as I like, but unless I'm observing that progress and paying attention to it, it's all meaningless. My brain doesn't care. In order to create the sensation of meaningfulness, I need to take the things I want to do and I need to place them inside of a structure. I need to poke my dopamine injectors and tell them to sit up and pay attention every time I do something that brings me closer to where I want to be. So, in order to fight boredom, in order to feel meaningful, in order to find motivation, in order to achieve the goals and aspirations I have in life, I need to structure my work. The first and most important part of this is to figure out what exactly it is I'm trying to do. If I don't know what I'm trying to do, or if I only have a vague idea of what I'm trying to do, any movement made towards it is also vague, subject to doubt, and inefficient at poking the parts of my brain I need to be poking. If I want a clear, observable movement in a positive direction, I need a clear, observable goal. So let's talk about mine. Chiefly amongst my goals is a goal to become someone who can decide that they want the world or themselves to be a certain way and then will make that change happen. You might notice that this goal is incredibly vague, and I was just talking about how vague goals are a bad thing. But at this level it's okay. We're going to be subdividing it into increasingly more and more specific goals. In fact, that's the entire purpose of this YouTube channel. On this channel, I'm going to be stating the goals I'm going to be setting for myself, going over the process of how I decide on those goals and how I decide how to subdivide them into smaller ones, tracking the progress of these goals, and most importantly, the regular reviewing and resetting of new goals as we accomplish old ones. Let it be known that this YouTube channel's main purpose is as a journal and record to keep track of my own progress to look back on for my own sake. But it is also a resource for people who are struggling to find sufficient meaning to motivate themselves to do the things that they want to do. If I can provide an effective template for people to slot their own goals into, I will consider this project a success. So, let's start with the question, what are some ways in which I would like the world or myself to be? It'd be pretty cool if I was someone who could create beautiful things that people can appreciate. How can I do that? Well, drawing, music and video creation are all very popular choices, and these are all things that in the past I've thought about wanting to be good at. I enjoy a lot of people's artwork. I enjoy a lot of the music people create, and I spend more time than I probably should enjoying the videos that people have created. I think that if I could be on the production side of this instead of the consumption side of this, that would be very meaningful to me. Also, let's get in shape, because wouldn't having a six-pack be pretty cool? This will be pretentiously entitled Project Elite, because we're taking the techniques of elite minds and putting them to use in order to take ourselves and integrate into our personalities the traits of people we might describe as elite individuals. I'm going to be taking a large chunk of every weekday, time I would usually spend aimlessly searching for something to fill my time, and I'm going to fill that time with structured practices towards things which are important to me. Every single step I take towards the things which are important to me, I'm going to track and observe. And through this method and this structure, I'm going to turn activities which build myself into activities which feel meaningful to me, which means that I'm going to turn these activities into ones that can compete with the entertainments which are being offered to me. Through this project, I'm going to turn myself from someone who sits around watching YouTube and playing video games all day into someone who's capable of creating beautiful things which people can appreciate. And through doing that, I'm going to turn myself into someone who can then set further goals and have faith that those will be accomplished also. And hopefully, so will you. Stay tuned for videos laying out my goal templates and my pathways towards learning how to draw, learning how to play piano, learning how to make good videos, getting in shape, and of course, learning how to hit Grandmasters in StarCraft 2.